I've had deals that didn't that made it through because of the relationship I had with the agent.
Absolutely.
On both sides, where I was buyer's agent or listing agent. And one listing agent, he helped me find them another loan officer.
Absolutely.
At the last minute when I'm out of town, he's helping me do all that, and we got this house in St. Augustine closed. I mean, so that was really important.
Hi everybody, welcome back to another Workout Wednesday. Thank you for joining us for the first week of June. Sorry that we missed last week. But we are in our new Fleming Island office today with a very special guest, Travis Tipton. Say, welcome on.
Hi, how is everybody?
We always start these out the same. I want to just learn a little bit more about you. Just How did you get started in real estate? Has this been the only career that you've had before or anything like that?
No, I was a general manager at the Olive Garden for a few years. When I moved back to Florida, I moved back to be a teacher. I was a teacher, basketball coach. Still do that here and there.
Yeah.
Basketball coaches and stuff like the basketball coaching because that's just something that I love. But I always had in the back of my mind, if I wanted to do something else, that it would be real estate. We had some family friends when I was little he was an agent, and he's just a big personality. But I always loved being around him and liked what he did, so I decided to do it.
Do it as well. Nice, very nice. So today we're talking about presenting the buyer offer to the listing agent, something that's in the process of the very end of your transaction, hopefully. But I want to start by asking you, can you kind of walk us through your process of preparing that offer from a buyer to a listing agent?
Well, obviously you get your information from the buyer on what they want to offer and everything, and give them the advice, the best advice you can get. But a big part of mine is building that relationship with the other agent.
Okay.
That's super important, and I feel like that for me that's alleviated a lot of tension or questions, and it makes it easier for me to approach any other obstacles that come up.
Yes.
And I was talking with Roxanne about this. I'll ask them, what can you tell me about the property? What can you tell me? They leave it open-ended.
Yeah.
And then let them talk, and then that way I have more information.
Yes.
Because we don't disclose, obviously certain things to protect our buyers. I make sure that they know that I understand that we're both trying to do what's best for our clients, but we want to get this deal done if we're moving in that direction, and ultimately getting them to agree with what I'm wanting to offer.
Yeah. So
that now they're fighting for my client as well in that manner, not sort of, no bribing them or anything like that, but getting them to understand it. And if they can agree to what I'm going to present, then that makes it that much smoother.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing I do is try to build that rapport and alleviate any concerns I have and give them any information I'm allowed to give them that will help them favor my offer.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was going to say. Building the rapport so that it just is a smoother transaction overall.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in that process, how are you finding out what's most important to the seller, maybe even before drafting the offer?
To those sellers? Well, I mean, if it's been on the market, I might ask them why it's been on the market. I might ask them, do they have? They probably may not tell me, but do they have a number that they're looking at? See if they'll just tell me. And if it's close to what my buyers are looking to offer, or what they can afford, or if I can work that to make it beneficial to both sides, I will. I want to protect my buyers first and foremost, obviously. But if they're comfortable with giving up enough to give the sellers feel like they got what they wanted, then that can help that. So I mean, I'll ask a lot of probing questions to the agent. What's if they had one fall through, why did it fall through? If you can tell me, if they can tell me, and stuff like that. But any other information that I can get from them, I'll look at the listing history, what's when it's sold, what it's sold for, how long it's been on the market, so I can get if it's only been on the market, or if they've only had it a year, may be able to tell they can't take a whole lot off of that.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
other information for me to be able to inform my buyers.
Yeah. What about key elements? What are you including in your offer summary that's going to make it a little bit more clear or concise so that everybody can kind of just help move?
Well, follow up on what we talked about so far. Narrowing down obviously the amount, but I want to have that verbal, not agreement, but understanding with the listing agent before I even put it in, and going over all that by phone first, and then say this. I'll put it in the offer and let you know if you have any questions. Let me know. But obviously the price of the house. If I can share the loan officer information, so they already have the loan officer's information, clarifying what title company is going to use. I want to use GTS if possible. Because Cammie does a great job over there, and I trust her more than I trust a lot of other ones. She's been great, so I try to do as many as I can through there, just because it's our partner and it's easier access for me.
Yeah,
and I already have a relationship with there. What else? The closing time, 30 to 45 days. If there's so make sure we clarify those on there, and then I'll also clarify. Once the offer is accepted, follow up with a clarification email for the, what's it called? I'm having a blank. I'll follow up with the email that talks about the dates for when's the inspection period end.
Yeah.
When is the loan application due? Hopefully, if my buyers, 99% of the time, my buyers are already done beforehand.
Yes.
But letting the agent know that they're already started that process. We're already pre-approved. We're already ready to go. So I think those are the big ones. There may be some that I missed in there.
What so I'll combine these next two questions. Do you prefer to present these offers in email or phone or in person, and do you find a particular way to be more impactful whenever you're presenting it?
I do a phone call first, followed up with I'm sending the offer now on an email.
Yeah.
With all the documents attached, anything that I know that they're going to need, I try to go ahead and get that to them, so they know that we're on our game, as well. And then followed up with a text to, please verify that you got it, so I can verify a receipt of that. And they might text, they might email me back, but usually it's that kind of conversation. So it's a step by step. I've never done one in person. I didn't see the need to go meet. They're as busy as I am, and it's hard to meet in person. But the multiple lines of communication, making sure that we follow up, and then following up when I say I'm going to follow up, that goes a long ways.
Yes, absolutely. So, what are you doing to address maybe potential weaknesses in an offer, maybe a contingency or a potential financing issue? You said that a lot of your buyers are already pre-approved, but if that does come along, how are you addressing those with the listing agent?
Well, what kind of? Can you give me an example?
Say if maybe something comes up in the inspection process, something that the buyer has seen, and they now maybe there's an argument over who's going to pay for it, how are they going to fix it, anything like that.
Okay. Well, those are conversations with that listing agent, and like I said, a lot of that goes back. Any of the time I've had issues like that maybe even come up, it's easier with that agent because I've built that rapport with them.
Yeah.
And then I can say, hey, look, this came up with the roof. That's going to have to be.
Yeah.
That's. Maybe we can, and I might give options. Is there an opportunity for them? First thing, obviously, we want them to replace that.
Yeah.
If you need roofers that will accept payment at closing. I have roofers that I can do it to try to help them find the people for that, or give the agent options along with that. I don't want to go to that agent and say, well, this has to be done, and then cut it off. Yeah. So it's always important to continue that relationship and build that trust by giving them solutions or other opportunities, or maybe I have asked before, would they be willing to drop the price $5,000 more, and then we won't have to do that repair, But I think it's important to give them options to show that you're working with them as well. Still protecting my clients, but and have those conversations with my clients beforehand. This is what I'll tell my clients. This is what I'm going to tell them. Are you okay with that? And then
So it's where the relationship at the start comes in so in
It's
handy.
huge.
Because,
to me, it's huge.
Yeah, I mean, because then at that point, it's an easier conversation of hey, this thing has come up, but I can recommend you somebody. And that's, I think that really will help go a long way, especially.
I've had deals that made it through because of the relationship I had with the agent.
Absolutely.
On both sides, where I was buyer's agent or listing agent. And when listing agent, he helped me find them another loan officer.
Absolutely.
At the last minute when I'm out of town, he's helping me do all that, and we got this house in St. Augustine closed. I mean, so that was really important.
Yeah. So what about common mistakes? I feel like, maybe not establishing a relationship with the agent could be one, but anything else that you've seen agents do when they're presenting an offer? What are some mistakes that can be made?
Well, I mean, don't assume where the concessions are. If there's a seller concession, always clarify that with the agent and get it in writing if you can. Where this concession is coming, where it's going to, and if you know the title, I've clarify that with Cammie. I've clarified with Cammie. This is where this is coming out, yes or no, so that I know, and we move forward. Or if there's any additional costs that could be, later on, where the commission. A lot of, I think, especially being the buyer's agent, there can be a confusion when you're agreed that you're going to get 3% in your buyer's agreement, but they're only offering 2 or 2.5%. Are you taking the other 1 or 0.5% from the buyer, or are you not taking that? Where it's got to be clarified.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's probably the biggest one where they're not sure where the commission's coming from. So make sure that you know how that buyer's agreement works.
Yeah. I think that kind of leads good into the next question. So with a lot of these industry changes, such as the NAR settlement, has that affected ways that you present these offers or communicate with these?
It hasn't affected me because Berkshire, we've already did all those listing agreements and stuff like that, and we do, like the agents that most of the agents in here we work with, we're very diligent to make sure that we get it right.
Yes.
The first time.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be something to come up, but if I can eliminate any of the other steps, I mean, many times not speaking ill of other agents, but we have to educate them a little bit on no, this is how according to our lawyers, or this is the way we've done it. Everything's always gone through, and work with them in that manner. But I haven't seen a whole lot of. I mean, for me, I'm a guy that says, all right, the best way to change a rule is to follow it, so that you figure out all the ins and outs of it, and then you can effectively offer solutions if there's something wrong with it, or maybe you figure out that it works.
Yeah.
So I mean, I haven't had any issues with it. I'll kind of let up to this point.
So final question: say if you're have a new agent in the office, what is one thing that you would teach that agent about presenting the offer, and why?
Build that relationship. Build that relationship.
Yeah.
And then get a checklist on the things that you absolutely need.
Yeah.
On every one. On every offer there's a certain list that you're gonna need. The price, the binder, who's the loan officer, where's the title closing, those things, so that you have those. And then combined with building that relationship on there, you can have the conversations with that other agent. But to me, that relationship that's another reason I went into real estate, because it's into Berkshire for the relationships things. It's not just calling cold calls all over the place. You're building relationships with people and agents and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So thank you for coming on today. It was a very good conversation about something that's not probably talked about enough. Something that's kind of towards the end and maybe assumed that a lot of people already know what should go on. But I will put all of Travis's social media, his website down below, so you guys can go check him out further than this. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, be able to contact Travis. But other than that, we will see y'all next week for our next video. Take care.